Nobody writes about the grinning prince. The thing about urban legends is that while they are supposedly an oral tradition, people love writing about them online. You can pretty much trace the whole Polybus myth from one message board post to dozens of broadcasts over the course of 25 years. Not the Grinning Prince, and not even the show. Not really. Everyone who was a kid in the NYC area in the 70s and 80s remembers this TV show. It was the most popular kids program on the local channel, the one that showed baseball. But somehow, it never went to the other markets. And even weirder, nobody in the area recorded it. By the time it went off the air in '84, plenty of people had VCRs, but no matter how much you search on YouTube, you won't even find clips of the garden full of psychological or psychedelic puppets being herded by singing hippies. Over the years, a few people posted clips, but they were pulled almost immediately. You will never see a full episode posted. You will never hear the roster. You will never hear the puppets say the one thing they absolutely said at least once in every episode. All things serve the Grinning Prince. The roster was the end of the show, when the hippies would put down their guitars and sing a cappella and off-key four names. For example, we see Jordan and Callie and Carrie and Julie and you. Everyone knew the rules. At some point, an older sibling or a friend would warn you. When they said your name in the roster, you had to place the thing you loved the most on the ground in your yard, with a letter asking the prince for a gift. If you did, you would get a gift. If you didn't, first the grinning prince would warn you in your dreams that night. If you still disobeyed, the prince would visit your bed the next night. If you disobeyed again, well, nobody knew. Something bad. My name, the real one on my birth certificate, is uncommon. My nickname was and is marginally less weird, but still unpopular, though I never got called on the roster. My cousin Davey wasn't that lucky. He tried not to cry when I asked him where his Wayne Foundation playset was. He had just gotten it for Christmas, and I was incredibly jealous. If any of you collected Mego superheroes, you would understand. He solemnly explained that he ignored the prince when he dreamt of him. The next night, Davy woke up to a withered, six-fingered hand rising up from the side of his bed, reaching for him. He spent the rest of his night in his parents' bedroom, screaming. In the morning, while his mom was doing laundry, he went into the yard and dug into the frozen ground. I was 4. He was 6. That conversation is my earliest, clearest memory. There's no reason why I should have cared so much about finding this show as an adult, but I am stubborn and nosy. Being stubborn and nosy aren't the worst flaws you can have, but they have cost me most of my relationships over the years. This gives me a lot of free time. I've been selling stuff, mostly original comic art at horror and sci-fi conventions for 20 years. 20 years of pestering the other vendors for a copy of an episode of the show. Usually, conventions are amazing for lost media like this. I have a 4K print of the unaltered versions of the original trilogy and a VHS with what appears to be an authentic 20 minutes of London after midnight. But I could never find a copy of the show. 3 months ago, at the big con in San Diego, a pink-haired girl in her mid-20s came to my booth. She was holding a disc with the show's name on it. I didn't have a DVD player with me, or at home, after 10 years, but she only wanted $20 for it. I don't know how she knew who I was or that I was looking for the show, but she looked incredibly familiar, which made no sense. I didn't know any women of her age, pink-haired or otherwise. When I got the disc home and finally found a laptop to play it on, I understood where I knew her from. She was the girl without the guitar. Her clothes and hair were obviously different, but she hadn't changed in 40 years. When the roster came around, I was sort of expecting it, but it still felt like there was ice going down my spine when they said both of my names. Obviously, at this point, the logical thing to do was just put my guitar in the yard. But I'm stubborn and nosy. I woke up screaming on my bathroom floor. I don't know how I got there. Even immediately after I woke up, I couldn't remember the prince's face, only his hand. The 6 fingers ending in long nails that burned like candles. So the next night, I put on a 1974 black Fender Telecaster Custom, same model that Keith hit a fan with on the Stones' '81 tour. Outside in my yard with my letter. I live alone and was more freaked out than curious. I left the television on for company. Around 3 a.m. I woke up with the sense that I was being watched. The TV was an old school snowy screen, like we would get when the cable went out. Then the hand rose up from the side of my bed. I don't know if I screamed. I only know that I froze. It came up slowly, no particular hurry. The fingernail candles casting shadows against the wall. It stank of soil and decay. It didn't move like a person. It didn't move like anything in this world. Even in my terrified state, I was able to recognize it. It was a claymation. I didn't bother getting dressed before running out for my keys and wallet and bolting out of the house. I ended up at White Castle, the only place open, frantically doing an image search. I was filled with cosmic dread, but I was still stubborn, nosy. I found it right away. I was right. The thing that was in my bedroom was the old intro animation from the Saturday night horror movie on the same channel that aired the show. A 6-fingered hand rising from a creepy swamp. When the sun came up, I went home to find my guitar exactly where I left it. My offering had been rejected. Of course it was. Tried to cheat. Later, I would go into the yard dragging the thing I really loved the most, the only painting my dad ever finished, a lighthouse at the depths of a storm, guiding the ships in. I have had it on my wall my entire life. The following morning it was gone, along with my note. That night there was a package on my door. I opened it and found 3 photo albums. Once I knew that the whole thing was real, I could have asked for anything in the note I left. If the grinning prince could appear in my dreams and the host of the show could appear ageless, then I could ask to be rich, or young, or immortal, whatever. That's not how I'm wired, though. For my gift, I wanted 3 answers. What was the point of the show? Why did it stop? And what happened to the kids who couldn't or wouldn't leave the offering? I sat on my couch and opened the first album, 1970s, pale gold and olive tones shine in the pictures. I saw the hosts, their names, their real names, not the ones from the show, were handwritten above them. Carmen and Patricia. I touched the picture and suddenly I'm not me, I'm Carmen. We are the puppeteers. is 1971, and we are in NYC trying to get a job with the public television kids show that has somehow become a huge hit. Our manager gets us an interview with the local channel. Station management pitches us on our own show, but there are rules, very specific rules. We have to prove our loyalty to the station management. We have to pledge ourselves to the smiling presence lurking behind everything. It seems like a game. Patricia and I sacrificed the puppets we made ourselves in 6th grade. We promised each other that we will ask for the same gift, for our show to go on forever. I don't know what Patricia really wanted to ask for, but it wasn't to stay young. At her wake, she was an old lady, and I was the same. Like always, my mind is as fresh as my body. I can't forget anything we did. I hear every kid's name that I called. I see the ones that didn't listen. I snapped the book shut and opened the second. This one isn't just pictures. It is a collage of 80s and 90s photos, newspaper clippings, magazine articles. They swirl into a vivid montage of what happened after the show stopped. It wasn't needed anymore. One generation of kids in one city was enough. 4 names called a day, 5 days a week, for 10 years. Every kid grew up to serve the prince in their own way. They gave him other names and made up party games to summon him. They put versions of him in 80s albums covers and 90s comic books and 2000s creepypastas. They even backwards maxed the worship service into Philadelphia Face Team Dance Show, also not on YouTube. Every bit helped. All things served the Grinning Prince. I didn't open the last album, not at first. I changed my mind. I didn't want to know what happened to the other kids, the ones who wouldn't listen. Nothing good could come from seeing that. I'm stubborn and nosy, so I looked anyway. I really tried not to open the album. I tried to ignore my curiosity, but I only lasted a day. I spent the whole day wandering through Midtown. I could have asked for so many things besides knowledge. I've never been to Europe. Billy Joel's house is for sale. I haven't had a hairline since Clinton was in the office. I could be like Carmen, with an internally young face and pink hair, handing DVDs to unsuspecting idiots at conventions. But no, I had to have answers. So I saw the symbols of the prince embedded in billboards and corporate logos. I heard the demonic cadence of his hums and songs playing in cars. I saw the TV station looming above me on East 42, and I knew who the station management are and who they serve. By the time I got home, I was tired of knowledge. I was tired of everything. But it was finally time for me to open the 3rd album. I saw their faces, defiant. They were the kids who didn't care if they got sent to the principal, the kids who got sent for evaluations and wouldn't cooperate with the therapist, the kids who wouldn't take their meds. The prince hates defiance. They would go to school and not get there. Leave their friend's house but never make it home. They wouldn't tribute the Grinning Prince willingly, so they were taken to his realm, where they could be of use. That's what he wants. In the end, the children shows, and the scary movies, and the backwards masked records, they all say the same purpose. He needs an audience. I thought I was stubborn, but these are the stubborn ones. And this is their penance. They went to a dark place where the only light is a glowing yellow smile that demands applause and adoration, and above all, compliance. This is their purpose now. These kids who couldn't follow the rules. All things serving the Grinning Prince.